It's July 18th, so it's 7:18 today. I'm watching the news, and the news says at noon in Westworld, since I'm in the Western Hemisphere, um, and they have this whatever television world show that has some tie-in with whatever. There's a character on Westworld named Hale. And today I find out in my Westworld, which is New York City, which is like the epicenter of Westworld in for real, in like the actual drama, in the trauma unit that I'm suffering in at the moment. And they have this thing called Hale and Hearty. It's a restaurant chain. They just closed their locations after 20 years. Looks pretty significant, if I do say so myself. I'm going to go off the premise that it's sending big shockwaves out throughout the rest of the system based on my prior video earlier today.
Surprise for fans of popular soup and sandwich chain Hale and Hearty has closed all its stores after 20 years of business. The shutdowns came without warning. It's unclear if the closures are permanent. The franchise had 16 locations in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Long Island, and prime locations, in fact. One Hale and Hearty branch along Manhattan was, though, recently sued by a food vendor for unpaid invoices and by its landlord for unpaid rent.
It is.
16 locations, prime locations. Interesting. Also, let's see. In other things, Mayor Adams this week has on a very interesting tunic. I'd call it a tunic, but except he's wearing it, so I don't know what to call it. But it's a white jacket with the larger buttons, almost like the Paddington Bear jacket, but with like Mandarin collar. I find it very interesting, and I'm like, gee, now during his like swearing in some radical form on this New Year's Eve, where I'm like, now, what coattail dragged him into this city? Not that he's not qualified, just that I don't know who's pulling his puppet strings. So I'm like watching him, and there's this very traditional garb of red with Chinese flowers on it and a Mandarin look that was near him during his swearing in on I don't know whose Bible, because here we are, Christianity and Je suis. But so that was interesting. So he's wearing this new getup, and then all of a sudden I saw Biden in the Far East, in the Eastern Hemisphere, having some meetings, and I'm noticing it looks awfully similar to what the Emirates or the Arab Emirates tradition is on the television, which I don't normally get to see, but just so happens that the schedules have aligned. And then there's they wear over that, though, some form of something else. So I find that very interesting in what exactly is going on in New York City during this monkeypox outbreak and this coronavirus and this COVID that's benefiting several 5-letter patterns in world news that are not traditionally American, North American by anyone's standards. And not knowing how this all abruptly came about in like a few decades. Now, while we're having a massive climate effect due to too much, I feel, radio broadcasting, opening channels where they don't need to be, opening cellular coded electrical channels for things that don't really need to be said, don't really need to be seen, things that don't really need this much variety in it, nor this much travel or this much whatever. I'm watching what's at the microphone, then it flashes to Honorable Kathy Hochul, who's in Albany all by herself, because every time I look at what Albany looks like, she's the only one I recognize because of her television cameos. And then there's this move into showing Mayor Eric Adams in. I didn't vote for him. I don't know how he got on a ticket. I don't know if he's a crazy donkey, most likely coattail rider, while the elephant just is doing whatever. The two bulls at RH Positive that messed my entire arrangement up from the get-go, while I need to get to a rhino and big R, little h, for the INA, INO, je ne sais pas, non so.
Thousands of appointments got booked up in just minutes on Friday night, but more are on the way. Governor Kathy Hochul says 33,000 new doses of the genus monkeypox vaccine are coming to New York this week, and it can't come soon enough. New York now leading the tri-state and the entire country with 491 confirmed infections. That's 25% of the cases reported nationwide.
We have 25% of the cases. This is ground zero. This is epicenter. And
and it says there that he's part of the crazy donkey. And he's, here, I'll give you a close-up of what he's wearing. I specifically today took off my jacket because I know that somewhere in the world they are really foul and they say all sorts of nasty rumors. I've never had a problem with nursing, with any of that stuff, just so we're crystal clear. Linda watches some show called Sex in the City, and it's really foul and disgusting and just so American. Or at least modern day American, everything that I'm not.
and we were not at one time getting our appropriate amount of doses.
In New York City, a batch of 8,200 appointments released on Friday night were booked up in just minutes amid a nationwide vaccine shortage. The federal government says it's ordered 7 million doses from a small company in Denmark that makes the vaccine, but they've only received about 372,000, and much of that order won't arrive until next year. The outbreak is primarily affecting gay men, causing fever-like symptoms and painful sores, but health experts warn if it's not contained, it could affect just about anyone.
It does appear to be growing quickly. I've been very...
Whoa, more levels of RH positive, calls itself a doctor that I don't trust. I'm not in the same organ donation pool as this man. In fact, he would very really kill me if he tried to donate an organ to me. That's a problem with keeping me here amongst this degraded population. I have a very real need to get to the Celestial Committee, the Astro, whatever they're called at this point, astronaut, cosmonaut, I don't really know what's appropriate, but it is Rh negative sensitive in that I don't even know how many Rh negative people are in New York City any longer. It seems like their numbers are going down, and it seems like the intoxications or the contaminants are going up, which is really frightening because there's no escape at this point unless someone intervenes, which is where Thursday comes in for me, an American foster family, Or perhaps somebody who can throw roast beef as like Big Brother, and he knows who he is. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.